Good morning, everybody. Well, we're out in the garden, obviously, and I'm fixing to cut some okra. And I got a new variety I've been trying this year, and it's called White Velvet, that was sent to me by a subscriber in Virginia. And so I have been trying to get this to grow. I have fried some, and I love the taste of it. But we are extremely hot here, and I keep saying that because it's a fact. But I notice this okra is growing better and better the hotter it is and the hotter it is getting. Now, okra likes it hot. It's a hot season type of plant. But I noticed with the white velvet, look how many pods is up on this one plant here. Is 1, 2, 3. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and there's 8, and then there's 3 little ones coming up. That is a lot of okra on one plant. So that's what I'm going to be doing this morning. I wanted to get out here yesterday evening and cut this okra. The more you cut it, the more it will produce. But also the thing I always do too is that when I cut my okra, then what I do is I'll be sure to get these leaves off, throw them to the ground. Anytime I cut the okra, I cut those leaves off and throw them to the ground, and it creates the okra plant to grow taller. If you don't do that, it'll grow bushy, and it actually doesn't produce, I don't think, as much okra. So if you want a reduction into okra, cut this off when you're harvesting your okra. That's a lot of okra. Now you could tell when the okra is getting tough by taking your fingernails. It's what we used to always do, is stick it into the okra. You don't want your okra to get too big or to get tough, and then you just throw it away. This right here is great for soups. You know, I like to put some in a bag for soups. I cut the end of it off. Now, Grandma didn't do that. She would just put it into the freezer. But you could do that also. Sometimes I'll just go ahead and cut the end of it off and then put it into the freezer. And when I'm frying it, I'll cut the end of it off, and cut it into pieces, and then fry it. Air frying's really super good. So I'm gonna go through here and cut this okra, get it cut, and get our harvest. But white velvet okra. So this might be my new variety here. I used to grow Clemson spineless. At one point in time, Clemson spineless was the only type of okra seed. That was just the way it was back in the day. But now they have, modified different varieties of okra. Now I used to grow Clemson spineless because I could count on to the fact of its production, its success. Never had any issues with it. And then I grew Clemson spineless and the Star of David. And then I grew just the Star of David. Now my Star of David literally the plants got 12 feet high, 8 to 12 feet high, which is extremely high. It doesn't produce, at least mine did, as much as the Clemson spineless, but it's a shorter okra, it's wider around, and it was also great for frying, but for the fact that it was wider around. But this year, I've been wanting to grow white velvet, and I was looking for the seeds. I hadn't ordered it, and then a subscriber asked me, do you want some white velvet okra? And I was like, yes. So we're going to go ahead and get this cut. But if you're considering a very productive okra plant, white velvet okra would probably be your choice. At least give it a try, and then you can determine if it will be good for your area. Up here, I've noticed all up here is little okra, little okras that's growing right here. So it seems to me as this plant gets taller and taller, the more it produces, which is what I'm looking for. Now, it started out slow, of course, you know, with okra. Once again, it likes hot weather. The hotter it is, the better it likes it. And so when you're starting your okra plants, I start mine from seeds into cell trays and then plant them individually, so I know how many plants I'm going to be getting, and then I can space them out like that. I got a video on that, and that works very well with me. Besides just sowing the old-fashioned way, sowing the seeds into the heel and then going back and constantly weeding out your okra little seedlings, weeding it out to get your spacing, which is wasting a lot of seeds. So I love this white velvet okra, and I'm determined to, this is all I grew this year, determined to get me some seeds this year so I can have it for next year's harvest. So we've got our okra cut here, and what I like to do is just take it right on into the house, let it dry off some, and then cut the ends off of it and cut it into pieces, put it in freezer bags, and store it into the freezer. You can also can it for frying. There's a certain way of doing that. I'm not sure if I made a video on that, but it's a very simple technique as far as canning your okra as for frying. You can also make pickled okra. So here into the aisle here, into the row should I say, we see a bunch of leaves. Now they will decay. It goes back into the ground. It makes cleanup a lot easier into the summertime. You know, it's nothing like having a big old bush here, and it takes a while for these stalks here to deteriorate. Another thing I used to do when I was little, I used to hate going to cut the okra, and I came up with putting socks on my arms. Now back then, I don't know about now, but you know, you used to have those socks that go, you to pull them up and they'd be way up here, and cut the okra, and that stops the itching. And so okra has a tendency, as the season goes on, more so near the end of the season or midway, then it starts making you itch. So, you know, they do make things you can put onto your arms now, but just grabbing a pair of socks and putting it onto your arms and some good clippers or a knife. I usually take a knife and just, you know, cut the okra and make it pretty daggone simple. But this is a good amount of okra. And so that's what I'm going to do. Take it in the house, wash it off, let it dry, and then I'll be putting it into the freezer. I do have some that's canned okra for frying, so I want to use that up first, but canning okra is a great technique to preserve it. I believe it's probably about it. You know, mine has lasted a year. I still have okra from last year. As far as for frying, so they say about 4 to 6 months, but mine's still good. But see you on to the next video.